address and just cut it as Alex. Just so incorrect. Sorry about that. You guys are still my guinea pigs for this.
Worse
So.
things have happened.
I'm sure they have. I'm sure they have. Okay, so now that that's done, Baruch Hashem, I get that moved over to this screen so I can actually see what I'm doing. Here we go. Beautiful. Okay, so first things first. Hi everyone. I am launching Mama Mazel tonight. This is my new full service. I'm offering star readings for individuals and couples, specifically sort of oriented around shidduchim, which is Jewish dating and engagement and matchmaking. It is extremely important to have your chart read, in my opinion, before getting married, whether you're Jewish or not. But obviously, I'm a Torah-observant Jew, so for me, it definitely is an important thing. So I'm launching tonight for everyone who's watching, all three of us. To me, this is super exciting, and God love them. Speakeasy and Cass have decided to be my guinea pigs to do this live on TikTok, which is banana cakes. And I'm also streaming live on my YouTube channel if anyone's interested. I probably will have 0 views, which is fine. So first things first, housekeeping. The report that I sent you guys is as much info as I could give you shoved into one report. It doesn't look as pretty as I would like it to look. So I'm working on revamping the layout and make it look extra pretty. And the thing that's really important that's missing is the key. So a lot of what I do, because I do kosher Jewish astrology, that it decenters Greek and Roman culture and mythology and centers everything on Torah-based information. I've removed Greek and Roman references as much as possible from the chart. It's not entirely removed because in the world of science, we still call Jupiter, Jupiter. We still call Saturn, Saturn. But in terms of references to Mars being the god of war, none of that. Absolutely not. So on your report, you're going to see a lot of Hebrew next to the English words. And obviously, if you don't speak Hebrew, that's going to look a little confusing. So that's why I'm going to run through the chart with you and tell you what each thing means. And slowly, as I build this up, I'm going to put a key on the report at the top so you know what Hebrew word means what. Because not everyone speaks and reads Hebrew fluently. There is a lot here, and I'm really excited about it because I got this huge download on Shavuot about the Avot and the Imaot and the influence that they have on the Mapat Mazel. And so I really am excited to share it. The other housekeeping piece of it for those who are watching and interested in kosher Jewish astrology, there are some basic ground rules that not everyone knows. So first and foremost, when we do Jewish astrology, we start and end with the idea that everything comes from Hashem. Hashem is the beginning and the end of everything. And Hashem was the one that put the stars in the heavens, set them on their course, put them in a fixed course, and has already known and done and created everything that needs to be created so that when we are born, in the moment that we're born, all kinds of incredible blessings and gifts and benefits and opportunities are mapped out based on where the kochavim are, where the planets are. So we always begin and end with everything comes from Hashem. We always acknowledge and look at the beauty and incredible synchronicity and harmony that these positions on this Mapat Mazel are going to reflect and what they're going to say about you, because it's going to be like eerily accurate. And the third piece is that we understand that when we do Jewish astrology, we are not operating in a fatalistic doom and gloom. I'm not telling you your future. If I did, I would have won the lottery by now. And I'm not here to tell you that you should worship Saturn or, light a candle to Jupiter. Like, that's not what we do. But what we definitely do when it comes to Jewish astrology is we use this incredible blueprint to learn more about ourselves and to practice self-development and growth and become the best version of ourselves. That's literally why we're here. So I wanted to clarify that for anyone who's watching who doesn't know how it works. I'm also going, because I decentered everything away from Greek and Roman culture, because astrology is at least 1,000 years older than that. You're going to hear me using a lot of Hebrew. I'm going to do my very best to say the word in English as well as the Hebrew word. If I miss something and you didn't catch it, stop me. I don't mind being interrupted. I will be channeling and I will be intuitively receiving information as well as reading what's in the chart. But part of the fun is actually receiving the download live. So I really love doing that. It's a lot of fun. And the last teeny bit of housekeeping is I apologize in advance if you are offended by something in your own chart. So I didn't write your chart. I just interpret your chart. So if you are offended by what is in there, get mad at Hashem because I didn't build it. So there's that. If anyone who's watching is interested in getting their Mapat Mazel done, if you're looking to get married, if you want to see if you and your spouse are compatible, all of those wonderful things are available now live on my website, mamamazel.com, MAMAMAZEL.com. And with that, who wants to go first?
Cass, you want to go first?
Okay, yeah.
Beautiful. All right. So, okay. So, that went really fast. Okay, here we go. So, Cass. So, is it okay that I call you Cass? Is there a different name?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay, beautiful. So, first and foremost, your chart we pulled up, we talked about, and correct me if the information is not accurate at any point. February 14th, you're a Valentine's baby. You know your year, born 7:30 p.m. Amazing. In the city that we listed, in the country that we listed. We are using the whole sign house system, the system of Batim. It's a style of astrological calculation. So the first piece that really, really matters that we're going to look at, and I don't know. Oh, you know what? I didn't send you your wheels. I want to send you your wheels. Give me 1 second because your wheels are, hold on. Your wheels are actually like the chart, like what it looks like for you. And it's important to look at it when you do because it's really informative. The layout, the way that they physically look in the system on the circle, it can be quite telling. So some people call them the charts, some people call them the wheels. I call them the wheels because it just makes more sense in my head. So let me grab yours. I'm going to email them to you because I should have done that earlier. Duh. Here we go. There's that. That is Cass's. And then this is Speak. Where are you? There you are. Nope, just that one. All right, done and done. So I just emailed those over to you. Now, let's go ahead and start with Cass. So we have your information. I'm pulling up the wheel now because I just love looking at it. It's just so gorgeous. So when you get a chance, I can't share my screen on TikTok, but when you get a chance, go ahead and open your wheel. Anytime anybody does a Mapat Mazel star chart, you're going to have the wheel with the 12 slices, the 12 pizza slices or cake slices or pie slices. In my work, we call this the Mapat Mazel, and the 12 slices are called batim. A bait means a house. But again, we are decentering Greek and Roman culture, so we are going to use Lashon HaKodesh. We're going to use Hebrew, and so each one of these 12 pieces are called batim. Each of the batim have a number. So in the Hebrew Aleph Bet, we say Beit Aleph, Beit Bet, Beit Gimel, Beit Daled, etc. And each one of those slices, those batim, has a different theme and influence on your life. So for you, yours is quite amazing. I forget the term that I learned many, many years ago for this layout, but I believe the term that is ringing a bell for me is the half basket. So basically, all of your stars, for the most part, are on one half of your chart. And so all of the correlations and the aspects that we have on this chart are all on one side. So the other side is totally empty. And that's really interesting. It can say a lot about who you are as a person based on the positions. So the most important pieces of your Mapat Mazal are going to be the Avot, the three patriarchs. So the three patriarchs are going to be your Shemesh, your Chama, your Levana, and your Mazatola, your sun, your moon, and your ascendant sign. So the sun, the moon, and the ascendant sign, I recently received a download that blew my mind, and it explained that the sun, moon, and rising sign in Jewish astrology are correlated to the Avot, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. This was given to me actually on Shavuot night, which is the night, it's the anniversary of the night that we received Torah. And, excuse me, knowing that Avraham is related to the Chama, the sun, and Yitzchak is related to the moon, the Levana, and Yaakov is related to the Mazatolah, it means that the way that, like, if you want to grow through Torah, for example, knowing those three, the Avot, and how they influence your Mazal can help you tap into that ancestor energy and grow through it and be able to learn what lessons they've got sitting waiting for you. So let's dive in. First things first, we are looking at your Chama, your Shemesh, your sun. Your Chama is, in English, we say Dli. Beivrit omrim Dli. In English, we say Aquarius. It's in Beit Vav, and that means your sun is in Aquarius, in Dli. Excuse me. And that influence is from Avraham Avinu, meaning Avraham was a trailblazer. The sun represents leading the way, leading the charge, fire, energy, your core self, your core identity. So you, as a Dli, are a visionary. You are a big thinker, just like Avraham Avinu. I would bet if I was able to do his Mapat Mazal, he was probably a Dli also. Dli people are driven by an absolute, it's otherworldly, this desire to be driven forward, to get the next big thing, to grow the next big thing, to create something huge and long lasting that can influence your life. And that is absolutely what it's showing here with this Mapat Mazal. You do not like being hindered. You do not like being held down. You do not like operating by anyone else's rules. For you, it is all about, I have this idea in my head and I want to see it to fruition. And because that is in alignment in Torah terms with Avraham Avinu, it means the entire theme of your life is going to revolve around, I have a vision for this future that I want to make a mark in the world, and my descendants will remember me because of that. So that's the first patriarch. That's Avraham. That's your Shemesh, your Chama. In Dli, Beit Vav. Also, just for the sake of argument, Beit Vav itself, well, we'll get into the Batim in a minute. Your second from your Avot is your Levana, your moon. Your Levana is Beit, where are we? It's in Shor, and it is in Beit Tet. Your moon is in the 9th house in Beit Tet, and the moon is the way that you feel and the way that you emotionally digest the world. So when you receive information and data and experiences and anything having to do with the world, you process those things emotionally using Shor, Taurus, and you do that in a way that is very philosophical. So because it's in Beit Tet is about academic and thought and processing and philosophy and learning and the mind. And so you process your emotions sometimes intellectually. So that is Yitzchak Avinu, and because your Levana is in Shor, it means emotionally you value the things that Shor represents, Taurus represents, which is stability, consistency, feeling well grounded and rooted. So some people, when they're emotional, they really love to flit from thing to thing to thing to thing, and to just fall in love with love and to be activated by whatever moment they're in. You don't. You are a Shor Levana, a Shor moon. You are very much about being grounded when you're experiencing your emotional processing. And if you aren't able to maintain consistent emotional digestion, so to speak, it can shake you up and make you feel unstable. In terms of the third of the Avot, or the Mazel, that Mazel starts off your chart. It's your Beit Aleph, your ascendant, and that is Betula. That is Virgo. So that's another earth. I'm sensing a lot of earth in this chart. Even though you have Dli, even though you have Aquarius, there's a lot of earth popping in to this chart. Your Mazal Olah represents, just like Yaakov Avinu, the way that you meet the world, your handshake when you meet the world. Someone might meet you and go, you don't strike me as an Aquarius. You kind of strike me as a Virgo. Well, yeah, because your ascendant is a Virgo. And so you meet the world and you operate in that Betula way. The maiden, she is precise. She is clear. She is detailed oriented. She is service oriented. If you want something done and done exactly right, you get a Betula like that, because they have incredible abilities of analytics. They have incredible attention to detail. They're fairly low key. They don't mind hanging in the background a little bit. They don't need to be center stage. They are like the person in a play who's got like the headset in the backstage, and they are running everything in the back, and you never see them, but this show could not function without them. That's a Betula. So your Mazal Olah is Betula. Your ascendant is in Virgo, in Beit Aleph. And that means when you meet the world and you are transforming yourself day by day as you operate in the world, you're doing it from a place of detail-oriented focus, precision, a little perfectionism. A little perfectionism is totally fine. I'm not judging. Not judging. But obviously, all of these mazalot have a light aspect and a dark aspect. We don't always want to fall into the dark aspect, but it happens. And so in this case, your mazal olah as betula, your shadow could be perfectionism, stubbornness, unwillingness to work collaboratively with people, needing to have things just so, some control issues. Not that I'm saying that you do, but that can be the shadow of Betula. I'm sure Speak has all kinds of opinions.
I will not answer that question without counsel present.
Well, at work, I am the person like, if you want to get something done, send me over. So I get shit done. So, and I have ADHD, and I am like the perfectionist when it comes to like, things getting done. I'm just like, get it done right, So.
If you're not going to do it right, go away and let me do it.
Yep.
Uh-huh. Except with you having Dli as your core identity, not only do you want it done right, but you want it done so well that in 100 years, they're going to use it as a model for all future things that ever happen.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So that's your big three. That's your Avot, your Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. So far, how does this land? Is it vague? Is it kind of?
It's as if like you're working with me and you know me so well that you know me. I'm just like, okay, this is so accurate. I am getting freaked out.
Woo! I know I'm doing a good job when I creep people out. Excellent. So I do want to sort of make an amendment because I do this in a Jewish way. It's understood that like these recommendations that I give you for whatever might pop up, they're going to lean into Jewish stuff. They're going to lean into do more Torah learning, maybe pray more, daven more, give more tzedakah, because that's what we do. When we want to override the shadow parts of our Mazel, we pray, we learn Torah, we we do tshuva and we give money to charity. That's what we do. It doesn't mean you have to, but if you hear me like repeat that a bunch of times, it's not because I'm like trying to convince you to convert to Judaism. It's just that's the style. Okay. So that being said, that's the Chama, Levana, and Mazatolah, your sun, your moon, and your rising. That is the core of how you interact with the world. Now, there are 4 other women in your life that we're about to introduce you to, and I want you to meet them on your wheel. And it's kind of hard to tell a little just because the lines are very thin, but if you look at your wheel, you're going to see 4 colors laid out on your Mapat Mazal. So those colors represent the 4 elements. So in this case, when we're dealing with your particular Mapat Mazal, we're going to lean into noticing a whole lot more earth energy because your planets tend to fall much more into earth and fire. But regardless, it's one of the reasons I like using AstroDance to calculate the map for me, because each of the elements on the outside edge of your wheel are color coded. If they're green, they're earth. If they're yellow, they're air. If they're blue, they're water. And if they're red, they're fire. So you have an instant idea of exactly where these planets are falling in your elemental makeup. And yes, we have an elemental makeup as human beings. We live on planet Earth. We don't live in the stars. We live on planet Earth. And so we are made of earth, air, fire, and water. We are made in such an incredible symphony in our bodies and our minds of these 4 elements. And this goes way before Greek medicine. This is ancient understanding. The air we breathe, that's air. The water in our veins, the tears in our eyes, the blood in our veins, that's water. Our bones are earth. And the neural pathways all over our body and our nervous system, that's literally electricity, that's fire. And the way that those things blend together within us physically is mirrored in our wheel, in our Mapat Mazel. So that's what we're going to talk about. Those 4 elements are the 4 Imaot. They are the 4 matriarchs, the badass women that set the stage for us in Torah. So Esh, fire, is Sarah Imenu. Air, Avir, is Rivka Imenu. Maim is Rachel, water Imenu. Rachel Imenu, water, I can talk. And Afar is earth, and that's Leah Imenu. And so when you look at your Mapat Mazal, this is what you're going to see. So under Esh, under fire, which is also correlated in the book of Sefer Yetzirah, the book of formation, the spiritual Kabbalistic writing, fire is the highest dimension. Fire is the highest world. It's the world of the spirit. And so that is represented in this reality by physical fire and in our spiritual dynamism through Sarah Imenu, the wife of Abraham. She was our matriarch. She's the first one who lit the Shabbat candles in the tent. She's the one who had smoke that sat above her tent. So she's fire. Your chart has a lot of Esh. It has a lot of fire. We have Ma'adim, Shabtai, Uron, and they are all in Tale. They're all in Aries. You have 3 planets in fire. And they're not just any old planets. Ma'adim is the planet of action and intensity and direction and discipline, and Gevura, which is like boundaries and strength and intensity. That's in your fire. That's in Tale. You've got Shabtai, Saturn. The first one was Mars. You have Saturn in fire in Tale as well. Shabtai. That is boundaries, discipline, limits, career, public life, like denying pleasure so that you can get something later on in life. Like that's the vibe that Shabtai gives, is restriction and limitation for a reason. You've got that in Tale in fire. You've also got Uron, which is Uranus. You've also got that in Tale in fire. So Uron, Uranus talks about, excuse me, breaking free of norms, rebelling against tradition, ending any sort of complacency, screw tradition. I want to be innovative. I want to be new and different. That's also in Tale. That's also in your Aries. So you've got intensity and power and strength and direction and forward momentum and limitations and self-discipline and rebellion, all in fire. So there's that. And it happens to also be in your Beit Dalet, the 4th house. And we'll get into the 4th house in the what the houses mean in a minute. But that's 3 signs. That's 3 kochavim you have in you. We're doing the star charts for these 2 amazing humans. So you have 3 planets in fire to start off with. Then comes Earth. I told you there's a lot of lovely Earth energy in this chart. You have your Levana in Shor, and you have Rahav in Gedi. So your moon is in Taurus. Your where are we? Rahav, your Neptune is in Capricorn. So Levana Bishov means that you've got a very grounded emotionality. You don't let your emotions like suck you into, some sort of like emotional state. Like you're very grounded emotionally. And when you dream and have visions of the future with Rahav, with Neptune, it's about how can I meet my ambition? How can I make my ambition grow? Because that's what Capricorns do. They are determined. They are tenacious. They are intense. And you do not want to piss them off. And they will go where they want to go, when they want to go, and you cannot get in their way. So you've got that in your Earth energy, also in your wheel. So when you tap into, like if you're meditating and you're doing an elemental meditation and you want to tap into Earth, you can literally use mental anchors like a mountain goat and tap into that Capricorn, tap into the Gedi and say, I want to reach that highest peak and I don't know how I'm going to do it. And you can lean into that Earth energy and help you get there. And so let me see here. We've got air, which is Avir. That is Rivka Imenu. And you've got Shemesh and Tzedek in Dli. So in your sun sign, in your Shemesh, which is Aquarius, Dli, you also have Tzedek, which is Jupiter. That is the planet of expansion and growth and kindness and welcoming and love and righteousness and being good to others and good to yourself. That is also in your element of air. It's in your Gedi. And that's also very valuable to know, because it means that when you use your mind, you're coming from a place of kindness. You're coming from a place of, how can I help this person grow? So that's fantastic. And that's in Beit Vav as well, which is also fantastic. Last, we have Maim, water. So you have a little bit of water in your chart as well. The predominant is fire. That's the predominant of what you have. but you have Kohav and Noga in Dagim. You have Venus and Mercury both in Dagim, in Pisces. So that means Noga is Venus. She is the planet of femininity, of beauty and love and passion and joy and all things lovely. And when you put that inside Dagim, in the Mazel of the Pisces, of the fish, what you end up with is someone who is emotionally and visionarily dreamy and loves beauty in all ways. And so you get that water vibe from your Noga, from your Venus. You also get it from Kohav. So Kohav is Mercury. When we think about Kohav, we think about the thinking planet, your ideas, your beliefs, your communication, the way you talk, the way you share, the way you exchange ideas. You do it in a very Piscean way, in a very Dagim way, which is very, very dreamy and very lovey-dovey and very, wouldn't it be amazing, and lots of like really like fluid momentum when you're communicating. It's not like staccato like some other people might communicate. You communicate in a way that's very fluid and very willing to bend and move and adjust. And so that's how those dominant elements present themselves in your chart. Excuse me. Now, what I'm seeing here, because we have 3 planets in fire, your dominant, I think I have an error on the chart here. Your dominant element is Ish, because you have 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you have 3 planets in fire, and they are all in the sign of fire, which is Aries, which is Ma'adim, which is Tale. So your dominant element is fire. Your dominant world, the world that correlates to, is the world of Atzilut, the world of visioning and fire, the spiritual world. And it was always burning since the world's been turning. And the relationship that you may resonate with most, if you were to pursue it, would be the relationship with Sarah Imenu. Sarah Imenu was the wife of Abraham. She was not afraid of anything, ever. She feared no one except God. She walked straight into the palace of the king of Egypt and held her head up and was never worried that anyone would touch a hair on her head. She was fearless. And she knew, even though she lived in a world where everyone was an idol worshiper, where everyone was a pagan, where everyone did a certain thing a certain way, she's like, F that. I'm going to light some candles, and I'm going to keep Shabbat, and I'm going to do all these things that feel correct in my heart and in my gut. And she was a prophetess. I'm going to get all of these messages, and I'm going to do what I'm told. And F you, you don't scare me. I'm going to walk right into war, and there's nothing you can do about it. And she was a powerhouse. She gave birth at 99. Like, she was fearless. So if you wanted to hone in on the element that might dominate your journey in this world, it's the element of fire. So there's that. So I'm going to pause for a second. Do you have any thoughts or reflections?
I'm kind of like, surprised, and I'm like surprised in a good way. I'm just like, damn, okay, that is me. I'm just like, I don't take no for an answer. I'm just like, okay, if there's no, give me the reason why and everything. And even with Easy, I'm just like, sometimes he's like, yeah, blah, 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 and I don't want to talk about it. I'm like, no, talk about it. I want to know what's up. I don't like, I don't like conflict, but at the same time, I'm sort of person who like, I like reasoning. I like, breaking the barrier. I like thinking outside the box.
Mm-hmm. That is all Rahav. That is all Dli. Like, box? What box? F the box. I'm not interested in the box.
Exactly. Yeah, that is me. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. Awesome.
Yeah. But what that tells me is that you are living true to the map that was built for you. You're not pretending to be someone else. And that's so important. It's so important for us to live who we're supposed to be.
I okay being someone else. Like I want to be myself. Like
Mhm.
people want to follow one trend. I'm just like F that trend. I'm gonna do my way.
Exactly. And that's, in my opinion, the healthiest way to do things. Because this was laid out for you the moment you took your first breath. So clearly you've gotten the memo and you're able to operate in this operating system that was created just for you.
Oh yeah.
So it's amazing. Let's talk for just a moment about the batim. So there's 12 houses, 12 batim, Aleph all the way through Lamed. And some of the batim are chock full of planets, of Kohavim. Some of them are empty. When we see a slice on the pie that's empty, it doesn't mean that it's good or bad. It just means that's not a major influence in your journey of your life. And that's perfectly fine. So when we look at yours, for example, it looks like we've got Bet is empty. We've got just barely. We've got what do we have? Yud. No, we've got Tet is no, Het is almost empty. We've got where are we? Tet, Yud. And Kaf and Lamed are also empty. So what that just basically means is that those are influences that are not necessarily like super dominant in your life. For example, Beit Kaf, which in your case is empty. It has the blue Cancer symbol in it, the blue Sartan. For someone like Elon Musk, he has a lot in his chart in Beit Kaf because that's the house of technology, community, innovation, and bigger picture thinking. And so for him, he's an Aquarius, he's a Dli, that house and that sign, they all align in a way that makes sense for him because he is a technomancer. He's an innovator. He's all about, changing things in the bigger, wider world and influencing the global community. So in your case, if you have batim that are empty, no big deal. Some of the batim that you do have are not. So Aleph, obviously, that is your Mazel Olah. That is your, that is your ascendant, which is Betula, which is Virgo. So Betula lives in Beit Aleph, and that basically means that you shape your identity through the service of Betula. Betula, Virgo, loves to be in service and doing. They make great action doers because they're earth element. They love to do. Like you said, if you give somebody with Betula a task, they get it done and they get it done with precision. So in your case, the core self of your identity, the more that you're doing, the more that you're serving others, the stronger you feel in who you are. And that's based on Betula. For your Beit, where are we? Gimel. Excuse me. Let me grab my book because I don't have all of this memorized. Here we go. There we are. Yes, I pulled out a giant book of shadows type deal. Okay, here we go. All right, so for Beit Gimel, we're talking about Beit Lashon. It's also known as the house of your childhood or tikshoret, thinking, talking, your family, your childhood, daily conversations that you have. So for Beit Gimel, you have Sheol in your Beit Gimel. Sheol is the planet we call Pluto. And when we talk about that, we're talking about, where are we? Come here. Okay, sorry, it scrolled up. When we have Sheol and Beit Gimel, we have information around the way that you have dealt with in the past with your childhood experiences, your family, and also just your siblings, the way that you deal with people who are close to you in your network, the types of conversations that you have. In that, you are about deep transformation and reinvention. So it might be where you're in a situation where you had some things happen in your childhood, and that led to a tremendous path trajectory of I'm going to always operate from a place of reinvention. Death and rebirth. I'm going to reincarnate and reinvent myself. I'm going to do it using words and language. I'm going to do it from a place of giving blessings and hopefully not giving curses. Doing it from a place of telling stories, and that's because your Sheol is there, your Pluto. Beit, where are we here? Beit Daled, you've got a lot of guys in Beit Daled. So we are looking at Beit Daled is the house of home and family, sometimes kids. And you have Ma'adim, Shabtai, and Yuron. So when we look at Beit Daled, the house of homecoming, it's also ancestry. So your ancestry from your people, the people you descend from, were intense, powerful. I get the feeling that they were warriors. I get the feeling that there was a lot of war or battles or skirmishes, like on a big level, or also maybe even just in the home. There was a lot of debate, a lot of arguing, a lot of big voices. I'm Israeli, we have that too. And it may have been an intense environment where it's like trial by fire. I like to give the example with this placement on this part of the wheel. Like when I was growing up, if you didn't yell at the table to be heard, it was like you didn't exist. It's like you didn't have an opinion. And that was just the way my family culture was. And that's the feeling that I'm getting here is there's just a lot of intensity around your ancestry and your origin and your roots. And Ma'adim and Shabtai and Uron, the three of them together, we're talking about the light side is assertiveness. The dark side is aggression. So we're talking about a lot of intense energy, forward momentum, action, not being afraid, courage, and then also potentially feeling restricted, feeling like there's rigidity all around you, and not being able to break out and breathe in some cases. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It's nailing the head on the nail itself, because my ancestry from my mom's side, great grandpa was actually, he worked with the British East India Company, and
Wow.
my father's side was all like normal common people who worked hard to where they are now. So I do come from a very hardworking ancestry. Like everybody worked hard for where they are. So nobody had anybody hand out anything. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I definitely get that
It
feeling.
makes sense. It makes
I get
sense.
that feeling. Like some of it is blue collar energy, like like kind of like salt of the earth kind of
Yeah.
energy. Yeah, I get that a lot from this
Yeah.
placement. But this is telling me that this is a gift that you're being given by the position of your birth. You're able to
Yeah.
you have the privilege of being able to pick out just the good stuff from there.
Yeah.
And that's
Because
the
my
beauty
mom,
of
like I said, my mom's side comes from wealthy, and but people work hard and everything, and but after partition happened and everything, all kinds of shit happened, but whatever, they worked hard and everything. My dad's side all working hard, all like
your
yeah,
family
my parents
survived
are also-
partition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
My mom's side, my dad's side. My mom's side actually left India after partition happened.
Wow.
So they went to Pakistan.
Was there
And,
was your family's history also correlated to a very strong like public reputation, like a public face, like they
Yes.
were well respected in
Yes.
public? Yeah. That's Shabtai. That's Saturn. That's your family's public face. Means a
Yeah.
lot. Means
Yeah,
a
it does.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Even my own
that's
parents themselves, my dad is like, he was working for the government in the information ministry. My mom's a teacher. So both of them are very frontal facing people.
Mhm.
So it's like I always try to protect your reputation. It's like, okay, my parents' reputation all the time. Even right now, my dad is like very involved with the community. My mom's very involved with the community, with teaching. So I'm always very careful what I post online about them. So yeah.
That's fantastic. So yes, so you have become very aware. That's what I try to remind people is your chart is not the only thing that influences your life. Like your life influences your life. Nurture, is a huge influence. Our lived experiences are a huge influence. So what you're dealing with is these pieces, these gold nuggets have been left in your chart and you've been able to pick them up and use them. And that's really fascinating and beautiful. Just to run into a few others, again, you'll see them in your report. In Beit Hey, Beit Zera, it's the creative house, the sexy house, the fun house, romance and joy and lovely excitement feelings. In your Beit Hey, you have Rachav. Rachav is Neptune, the planet of dreams and transformation and growth and rebirth and excuse me, idealism and bliss and like transcending the physical world into the spiritual world. So in your Beit Hey, you have Rachav. So when it comes to matters of family and children and pleasure and joy and delight, you really love meshing your physical and your spiritual and kind of coming up with a really interesting hybrid and experiencing things in body and soul. That's what that tells me. In Beit Zayin, in your 7th house, we've got, hold on, wait, where's Vav? Shemesh is in Vav. And Tzedek too. Oh, I skipped a line. Okay. Hold on. There it is. Okay. So in Beit Vav, in the 6th house, it's at the right-hand side of your wheel with the 2 wavy lines. That's Dli. You have Tzedek there, the planet of expansion and chesed and loving kindness. So in Beit Vav, that's the house of service, health, work. The word in Hebrew for service and work is called avodah. It also is the same word for prayer because we believe that when we pray, we are doing the work of our heart. And so this bite is where your core identity lives, your shemesh, your sun, your dli, and also where your loving kindness comes from. So your loving kindness also comes from dli. And so basically that's telling me that service is your love language, and it matters a lot to you. It actually grows and nourishes your soul every time you live and operate from a place of service. And you're very, very generous. Tzedek is the planet of generosity and giving, whether you're giving time, money, energy, kindness, good words, whatever, you are doing those things and it nourishes your soul. I am being reminded to remind you the shadow aspect of this is too much growth and expansion and giving leaves you totally empty and you are a shell and a husk. So there has to be balance between I live to serve and I need a rest. I need a break. Leave me alone. People with Betula energy, with Tzedek energy, they have a hard time saying no. They have a hard time setting boundaries because they have this voice in their head saying, yeah, but if I just do this, I know it'll be done right. And I know it'll help this person. And I could just get it done really fast. And then you can end up sucking the life out of yourself. So I'm being told to remind you to operate with balance when it comes to that. Let me see here. Next house is the 7th house, Beit Zayin. Beit Zayin is zivug, which means partnership. It's the house of marriage, partnership, relationship. But like if you had a business partner, it would also include your business partner too. It just means a really, really strong, long-lasting relationship that you have. So in your Beit Zayin, in your house of partnership, you have Noga and Kohav. You have your Venus and your Mercury, which means all the love and beauty that you have for life you invest in your partnership. So I assume Easy could probably speak to whether or not that's true. But it also means that you're not a dummy. It means that your brain needs to be stimulated by the person that you love. That means you need to have thrilling conversations and stimulating conversations, and they have to turn on your brain before they turn on your heart. And that's the way that it's laid out for you in your chart. It's just the way it is. And the reverse is also true. If they say the wrong thing, if they put their foot in their mouth, they've just squished the fire and there's no romance that day.
Yep. Can't
I mean, I'm not talking about like everything that happens in your bedroom, but generally speaking, this kind of layout and this bite and Beit Zayin, you have to romance her brain.
No, I mean, like when we first met, we discussed things on an intellectual level.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly,
I bet that was a huge turn on, right, Cass?
Yeah, it was. I'm a sort of person who basically like, I know I'm pretty. Stop talking like I'm pretty. Talk about my mind. Talk about my mind. That's what he did. So
Get to the point. Beautiful. Now, you should be aware that this is one of those hooks that's part of your personality, which means if you're dealing with a situation where you don't want to do something, if you can find a way to romance your mind first about the thing, you can then get your heart to buy into it. And I'm talking about like doing the dishes, vacuuming the floor. Like if you can convince yourself intellectually, then your heart might be more willing to buy into it. Because that's the way it's written in your chart. So there's that. We've got the 9th house and the 10th house, respectively. Tet is Beit Tet is the 9th house, the house of philosophy, aliyah, ascension, growth. It is where your moon lives and also your node. So Beit Tet is all about you having an emotional relationship with teaching others and spirituality. So the moon is the woman's planet. Like the moon is our flow, our ups and our downs, our waves, our ebbs and flows. And for your moon to be in Beit Tet, it means that you have a love affair with learning and a love affair with philosophy and academics and reading and studying and researching and teaching and speaking. But because it has to do with your Levana, your moon, it can sometimes, the shadow part of it could be that sometimes you're really feeling it and sometimes you're not. And sometimes you're full of that energy to teach and reach out and connect. And sometimes you're like, leave me alone. I'm not into it. And also the moon correlates to hidden parts of our emotional consciousness. And you may actually, that's true. You may actually find yourself in the future, or maybe now, or in the future, being a person who can teach others to tap into their hidden emotional strength, their hidden emotional power, maybe even pulling people out of their emotional shells. And you're good at teaching them to do that, even in like a spiritual path. Does that make sense?
yeah, it does make sense because my future career that I am looking into is becoming a teacher, just like my mom. But I don't want to teach like English or whatever. I want to teach like something else.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of makes sense.
You could.
And every day, it's just like I tell people like, yeah, every day is like teaching, learning experience and everything. And I like to teach people like, if somebody comes up to me at work, like, I'm an assistant, by the way. So you're right about helping people and everything. I get exhausted by the end of the day. For you, creating energetic shields is going to be a necessity. You can't live without them. You just can't. And people do approach me sometimes like, hey, can you teach me this, can you teach me that? So it's correct, me.
One of the things I'm being told is moving forward, if you are planning to become a teacher, that you may really grow and gain a lot of joy by looking at teaching things like ethics, philosophy, and things like character building, things that are a little bit more esoteric, that's not like math and science and English, but things that revolve around how would you handle situations? How do you want to show up in the world? Maybe even becoming a life coach. That kind of thing could be a direction to go, where you're showing people how to harness their desires, tap into the things that they've been keeping locked away, and also how to control their emotions in certain situations as well. That's what your moon in the ninth house is also saying to me. So that's something to consider. Let me see here. The last piece for career, your Chiron is in Beit Yud. Chiron is the planet / asteroid related to a deep wound. We all have deep wounds. Some of them are childhood wounds, some of them are not. But all of us have a wound that we are destined, we are designed by the stars to overcome and grow through. Yours is in Beit Yud in the 10th house. It's the one at the top sort of left zone of your chart where it says MC for midheaven. It's the thing that looks like a key. The Chiron in Beit Yud is specifically talking about, Beit Yud is the house of authority, the house of this world, the house of the kingdom, the house of public life and career. So when you have Chiron in that house, we are dealing with uneasiness around who am I going to be when I grow up, and uneasiness around someone being your boss and telling you what to do. And there may even be like a really deep wounding around that, whether maybe someone was really bossy to you when you were little. There's definitely something that happened in an earlier time in this lifetime that caused you deep emotional wounding around, you have to respect authority. And as an adult, you are now given the privilege of looking at that information and going, oh, okay, I'm going to heal through that. And I'm going to treat people differently when I have authority, and I'm going to break that chain, and I'm going to use that as a way to grow. That's I'm not getting the sense that that's something that's super influential in your life at this moment. But it very likely will be in the next 5 years.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
I understand.
Beautiful. There's some other bits and pieces here that I think are really beautiful for you in particular, and in my humble opinion, very complimentary for Easy. You tend to be really intuitive in your communication and very poetic and verbose. You are a spiritualist. You have spiritual power and resonance in everything that you do. And that can sometimes cause you to see like with rose-colored glasses when you look at Easy, sometimes like seeing just the most wonderful parts of him. I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing, just saying that's part of the way that you're built. You are definitely a powerhouse in general. Your Ma'adim, your Shabtai, Uron, they are all intense, powerful, aggressive, disciplined energies. That is going to be like, I'm getting this like vision of like a surfer riding over all these waves. Like it's going to be the vehicle that gets you as far as you could possibly get. And also it's important to turn the volume down on that when you get home and not be so intense in your personal life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. And then obviously you love to be in service, and that's important. You're very generous, but you do have to practice those boundaries. One of the folks that I love, one of my sheroes, Lisa Nichols, she's a life coach. She talks about how When we serve others, we're not pouring from our cup to their cup. Our life should be so abundant and overflowing that our cup overflows and it pours into the saucer, and the saucer is what feeds other people. And that is a really good analogy, so that we're not draining our core energy to fill someone else's bucket, so to speak. And that's important. It's highlighted a couple of times in this chart. So just keep that in the back of your head. I also do see, because your 10th house, your Beit Yod is Teomim, Gemini, you may end up doing this emotional healing from this deep wound through some sort of communication, whether it's through painting, singing, acting, writing, journaling. Some sort of communication can help heal through that wound in your 10th house. And then the last piece is your, are you guys planning to move at any point?
Yeah.
Okay. I have 3 recommendations for you, specifically for your astrocartography. The recommendations for you are, if you want someplace that's emotionally fulfilling for you, and for travel and for study, Northern Europe is a good place for you. If you want someplace that will trigger a huge evolution, it'll be painful, but it will trigger you. The East Coast is going to do that to you. The entirety of the East Coast. Your Chiron line runs down the East Coast. So any city that you live in the East Coast will be hugely transformative, but it's going to hurt. And if you, excuse me, if you were to, this is interesting, if you were to return to the place of your birth, you would end up having natural leadership opportunities show up in local communities because it's tied to your tzedek, to your Jupiter line. So, for what that's worth.
Okay.
And that's your chart. I'm not going to do the synastry for you and Easy until I do his chart, but that's your chart. So what are your thoughts?
My thoughts on that is was scary accurate, and it was like hitting all the parts where I was like thinking, I was like, oh my god, that's accurate, that's right, that's correct. So yeah, makes sense. I was thinking about it. I was sitting here thinking about it. I was like, hey, no wonder when after I come back home from working, I'm tired. I am exhausted.
Yeah.
Because I keep giving everybody my energy and nobody gives me back. And I'm just like, and yeah, I do a lot of writing. I do love art. I mean, I majored in art.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you've already started the healing process.
Yeah. I wrote, like, I've been writing. I've been, like, whenever I write something, read something, I love bookstores.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
it's really important.
Been a very creative person.
Now, here's the thing, especially in the area of coming home and being exhausted because everyone's sucking the energy out of you. Part of it is not your fault. You have a lot of fire in your chart, and people with a lot of fire in their chart, they have trailblazer energy, they have fearless energy, and it's fire. It's like a moth to a flame. Those of weaker will and weaker energy will be drawn to you, and they'll see you as this light in the darkness. And so it's not your fault that you're built that way. So what that means is, what is the natural inclination of fire? It's to keep burning and to find more fuel and to keep burning. And so the visual that I'm being told to give you is, instead of like squishing the fire when you go home, turn it down to a pilot light. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Like, instead of a bonfire, like, turn the fuel down until it just burns a little bit, so that you have an opportunity to let your air come out and your water come out and your earth come out. And you could even counteract that with like baths and washing your face or swimming. things like water literally counteracts fire. And so, or listening to really beautiful emotional piano or something, and that can help kind of temper you down and re-energize you so that you don't feel so drained.
Yeah, it does make sense.
So there's that. Easy, are you ready?
Let's rip the Band-Aid off. Let's see what's going on.
I mean, if you're scared, I don't want to frighten you. All right, hold on. Let me pull your wheel because I'm looking at hers. 1 second. Easy, easy, easy. Boom. There it is. All right. So I am looking at your chart. Yours is a much more balanced wheel in terms of like planet placements and positioning and stuff like that. You have a lot fewer empty houses. No, actually, I'm wrong. You only have one less empty house, but they're distributed much more evenly, which means that from what I'm seeing and I'm interpreting, it means that overall, your life's path is much more about holistic growth rather than necessarily growth in only 3 or 4 arenas. But we'll get there. So let's start off at the beginning. I've got May 5th, you know the year. In the evening in the city you sent me. That information is still accurate?
Nothing's changed. So,
Okay,
yeah.
good. Just wanted to make sure that my software that I use didn't fuck something up. Okay. All right. So let's deal with your avot, your big 3, your Chama, Levana, and Mazel Ola. Your Shemesh, your sun, is in Shor, in Beit Zayin, meaning your core identity is Taurus. Your core identity is a very grounded, consistent, dependable rock. That is your core identity. It takes a lot to shake you up. It takes a lot to jostle you. And the shadow aspect of that is it takes a lot to convince you. And you can sometimes be stubborn. And that is not really up for debate. It's just a fact. However, the thing I love, and this is actually like one of my favorite mazalot in the whole zodiac. I love Taurus. They are the most loving, dependable, like give you the shirt off their back people that exist. They are steady, they're devoted, they are ride or die. Like there is no in between. Once they like when they mate for life. That's a Taurus. And so for you, everything you do in your operating system, in your core identity is give it 100% or give it nothing at all. Go big or go home. The thing about being sure, the Taurus, is that when you exist in the world and you operate with your lived experiences, your love language is going to be much more tactile and identifiable. So it may not be words of affirmation. It may not be, touch, or it might, but it's more likely to be things like gifts. No, actually, I'm wrong. Gifts, touch, as well as acts of service, because the people who are sure Shemish, they are all about the physical world and physical pleasure and good food and comfortable clothing and cozy blankets and experiencing lovely, beautiful things and seeing beautiful art and experiencing beautiful music and theater and all the beauty in life. The planet that rules Shore is Noga, is Venus. And so they are like connoisseurs of food and connoisseurs of booze and connoisseurs of whatever, because they love living in this earthly world. And so the shadow aspect of that is there's some gluttony that can come in there. There's some slowness because earth is a slow element. There can be some stubbornness, tendency towards procrastination, tendency towards laziness, that can happen. Doesn't mean it happens to you, but that is something that can happen with the Mazel shore. And your shore happens to be in Beit Zayin, specifically the house, the 7th house of relationships. So what that means is when it comes to relationships, you give it everything you've got. You squeeze everything till the last drop. You don't stop until that other person feels fulfilled. And you give of yourself relentlessly. You like to do things that lets them know that they can depend on you. And that might look like feeding them when they get home from work, or giving a massage, or buying them their favorite milkshake because you know that that's their favorite flavor. That kind of action is very much a shore Taurus method within relationships. The hard part in that is that sometimes when we do that, it can be a little bit difficult to disentangle you from the other person because you just want to be with them all the time. And that's what feels good and comfortable. And Taurus, the bull, wants to feel good and comfortable all the time. So take that for what it is. But that's your Abraham. That's who you are at the heart of you. Your moon, your Levana, is in Teomim, Beit Chet. Yeah, Beit Chet. So your moon in Gemini in the 8th house is where Yitzchak Avinu influences you. So Yitzchak Avinu was the one who was the really, really holy, kadosh, sacred, holy, like spiritualist. And he was all about leaving his imprint in the world in subtle ways. His dad went to war. His dad built altars everywhere. He built wells. He dug deep to nourish others with water. That is what you do in Teomim when it comes to your moon in Gemini, in Teomim, in Beit Chet. We are talking about someone who has to communicate their emotions on an intellectual level, like you indicated. But even if you're like emotionally activated, you're going to talk it out. There's 2 kinds of people. There's the ones that think it out and the ones that talk it out. You're a talk it out guy. You like to talk out what you're feeling. I would assume that that translates to all kinds of situations where you like to express yourself, maybe verbally, maybe in writing, maybe singing. And you are emotionally attuned to who you are and emotionally aware of who you are. And I'm not calling it a curse, but I also have a very similar layout in my chart. And it can be a pain in the ass to be emotionally aware, because if the connection isn't deep, then you don't want it. And you're like, go away. Like you can't handle small talk. You're not interested in sharing your emotions or your feelings with someone who has no depth. Like that's not it for you. And for you, you are a flexible thinker because you have that twin thinking, communication, quick fire thought process. And so when you think and you translate your emotions, you're doing it fast, fast, fast with mental agility. Does that make sense?
Yeah, kind of. Honestly.
Okay.
But, there are times where it's like, I gotta admit, it can be tough for me to express myself, and I try to express.
Oh, for sure. And there's other stuff in your chart that's going to make it difficult. Like it's never one or the other. Also, men have a harder time than women. Also, our society is riddled with men who suffer from alexithymia, and it's not your fault. Like that's just the way it is. It can be overcome though. Tshuva, tzedakah, tefillah, it can absolutely be overcome. It can be something that you can grow right through. The third patriarch I wanted to touch on is your ascendant in Akrav. So your Mazel Ole is in Akrav in Scorpio, which means Scorpio Akrav is the sign of transformation and rebirth and looking into the depths of things. So you want to, like, if you find a really good shrink who knows exactly how to get into the heart of their patient, they're a Scorpio. They can see underneath everything. I would assume, so because it's your ascendant, it means that's your handshake to the world. That's how you meet people. You can probably look right into them and go, I know why you're fidgeting like that. You are dealing with this issue and that issue. And you can see under the surface and you can see what someone's deeper motivations are. It makes you a complex person. It makes you spiritually attuned, although I suspect you don't admit you're as spiritually attuned as you are. And Scorpio people are also ride or die. Krav people are ride or die. They are so painfully loyal to the people they love. Like, it's insane. And they tend to be quite passionate as well. They tend to be very intense, and they tend to form very small circles. So when you meet people, because it's your ascendant, they're not seeing your Taurus, your Shore. They're seeing your Akrav. They're seeing your mysterious eyes and your mind that's always working and trying to see under the surface. And that will come across as intensity. That'll come across as maybe even being aloof, like, but really what's going on with you is like, I want to see what else there is. I want to go deeper. I want to transform. I want to grow. I want to know what's under the surface. And that's okay. That's who you're designed to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, actually it does. It really does.
So all of that to say, you are a very grounded, steady, consistent, dependable person, sometimes ruled by his tummy and by good food. You are also a great thinker and you process your emotions mentally. But when you meet people, you are intense AF. And I think that's wonderful because it scares away the ones we don't care to interact with anyway. And then only the brave, courageous ones that are worth it stick around. So that's fine, at least in my opinion. So that's the 3 avot. Unless you have questions, I'm going to get into the elemental, the imaot, in your chart.
No questions at this time. The babes, does this feel kind of accurate to you?
Oh yeah, my dad. He is so him. He's so intense and everything. Sometimes just like, can you chill? Can you like relax? You know. So
Scorpios only have an on and off. They don't have like it's not a dial. It's like intense or nothing. Okay. Well, in terms of the elements on your chart, we've got a very nice distribution, but it's also really obvious you are an earth sign. So in terms of the 4 imaot, Sarah, Imenu, fire, you have Ma'adim, Uron, and Achav in fire. So you have your Mars, your Uranus, your Sagittarius, your Uranus and your Neptune are all in fire signs, which means that it's only 3, but it's a good amount, and they all have very intense energy. So that's really not surprising. It can lead to a lot of intense dynamics. Your Earth, you have your Sun and your Noga, your Shemesh and your Noga, your Venus. You have Tzedek, you have Shabtai, you have Chiron. All of them are in Earth signs. So your Sun, your Venus, your Jupiter, your Chiron, and your Saturn are all in Earth signs. That means that the majority of your chart is grounded and centered. And it doesn't mean like you're slow. It just means that earth energy tends to influence you more than others. So, and I'll talk about what that looks like in real life in a second. So your air, you only have 1 planet in air, in Avir, that's Levana, that's your moon, that's your thinking emotional processing. And then you have one planet in water, Mime, and that's Sheol, that's Pluto. So when Sheol is in Pluto, specifically Akrav, it means that you've got some influence of water in your chart, not a lot, but the influence that you do have is the Scorpio influence, the Akrav influence, which means when you dive deep, you dive into the depths of the abyss and into rebirth and death and growth and transformation, and you go all in. Like when I see that placement on your chart, I think of the story of Orpheus, who goes into the underworld to rescue his beloved, and he plays a tune for Hades. Not that I'm trying to reference a Greek myth, but it's such a relevant myth metaphor. Like if you were going to go into the underworld, you would literally charm the devil himself just to get what you needed. That's the level of depth that I see from that placement. And it's not just stam for the sake of just diving in. It's because you want to be reborn and reborn and reborn and grow and develop. And it's very interesting. It's very interesting. But overall, your dominant element is earth, afar, which means you're going to be have much stronger influence in terms of gut and intestinal issues, bone issues, potentially spine issues, anything related to the bones and the muscle of our body is earth. It also means that you're going to really love the physical things of this world. You're going to love food and drink and music and art and living joyously in this reality and staying grounded and rooted. You are a very rooted person. You're not flighty, you're not up in the air, you're not like la-di-da, like an airhead. You are a rooted, grounded person, and it's written all over your chart. So if you ever wanted to tap into that, let's say you're having a difficult moment, you're struggling with something, you don't know what to do, and you wanted to tap into that groundedness, you could do a meditation and call upon Leah Imenu and say, matriarch Leah, I'm calling on you. I'm asking for you to help me get grounded, to help me stay centered, give me the emotional stability that I'm looking for. And that's who is dominating your chart. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Quiet consistency is the theme of you.
Trying to mold myself out of that. I mean, you talk about like rebirth, renewal, and things of that nature. And Cass can tell you I'm kind of on a renewal sort of journey right now. It's a tough one, not easy, but it's a needed step in the right direction. And yeah, it took a lot of energy from her just to get me on that path. So
I believe you. I don't doubt that at all. It definitely looks like you have transformation kind of written in multiple places in this chart. Excuse me. So I find that really fascinating, and I love what I'm seeing. So in terms of your house placements, there's a few different parts. Sheol and your ascendant, your Mazel Akrav, those are, again, they're very intense. They're about transformation. Because they are in your Beit Aleph, in your first house, it means that you tend to be very self-critical and self-aware. And like, oh, I know I'm doing that thing I do. Oh man, why can't I stop doing that thing that I do? You have that tendency and that self-awareness. You're like shining a microscope on yourself a lot. And when you have a crisis, when you have like, I'm gonna adjust. When you have a big life change, when you have a big experience, a big transformation will come out of it every time. for you. Some people go through life changes. Yes, exactly. You are your own worst critic. Some people will go through major tragedies and they will literally like wake up the next morning and act like nothing happened. And those are the folks that never learn the lesson, unfortunately. For you, the opposite is true. Every single time that you have like a gut check, like you're questioning who you are as a person, as soon as that resolves, you transform. And you're basically like adding a notch to your belt. You're adding another layer to who you are. You're writing the owner's manual of who you are, which I wish to God everyone would do. Most people don't. They're too lazy and they're too scared. It was set up for you to do that the moment you were born. So if you ever wonder if you're crazy for acting this way, you're not. You are operating on the operating system you were given. Number 2, Shabtai, Saturn is in Beit Daled. Shabtai is, I like to reference it if you're familiar with Kabbalah. There's Chesed and there's Gvora. They are two sides of the coin. There's growth and kindness and expansion. There's restriction and limitations and discipline. And so Shabtai represents the discipline. It represents restriction. It represents, holding yourself back until you achieve the thing that you're looking for. And it's a long-term thinking planet. It's not a short instant gratification planet. Your Shabtai is in Beit Daled. Beit Daled is Beit, the house of roots and ancestry and home. So there may be some heavy family dynamics that you have dealt with, are dealing with, may deal with in the future. I want to make sure you know it's bigger than you. It's not just you. When Shabtai sits in this house, it's saying, I am influencing ancestral karmic connection and ties. So it may not be this Gilgul. It may be the previous Gilgul, the previous incarnation, or the previous incarnation. There are ancestor karma ties that you may now be navigating. You may even be attempting to break those intergenerational chains. And that's what that tells me. And so much so, you may even be trying to make that part of your career. Like you may even be trying to make that your public face. Like who do I want to be when I grow up? I want to be someone who breaks intergenerational ties, who can take on the burden of responsibility for my family and ride into the future into a new horizon. That's what Shabtai is saying. Yeah, that's what Shabtai is saying in this house. And that's important because you're not going to bring mushy gushy, compassionate, lovey-dovey feeling to this situation. That's not what's needed. That's not. What's needed is discipline and awareness and holding back until you reach that goal. That's what's needed, and that's what's shining through. And I also see a clerical error. I apologize ahead of time. I see an error on my chart. Hold on a second. Yeah, this isn't showing up right. The report that I sent you says that your Shabtai is in Beit Daled, which is correct, but it's saying that it's also in Capricorn, which is wrong. It's not. It's in Delete. So anyway, doesn't matter. In terms of your fifth house is empty. It's the house of Aryeh, the lion. Just means it doesn't have much influence for you. Beit Zion, you have your Shemesh and your Noga, your Sun and your Venus in Tale, or in Shore, I should say. That house, the 7th house, love and romance. You bring love and beauty and everything you got to your relationships. I am being told to tell you point blank that you also need to be able to recharge. You are not supposed to pour out from your own cup. You're supposed to pour from your saucer. So that's just a reminder. And also you're allowed to maybe consider flexibility. when it comes to your romantic relationships, your partnerships with people. So even if you have an idea in your head of, I think it should go this way. I think the date should look like this. I think we should go to this place. It's also okay to be flexible and to say, well, doesn't have to be. We could go somewhere else. We could do something else. Flexibility is the counterbalance to that earth energy, that groundedness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely does.
Okay, good.
I can tell you firsthand.
She will. I'm sure she will in just a moment. And then the last house that's very influential here for you, we already talked about your moon in the 9th house. In the 10th house, we've got your Chiron, which is exactly where Cass's Chiron also is. I want to point that out. That's not an accident. Her Chiron is in the 10th house. Your Chiron is in the 10th house. And actually, I believe your Chiron and her Chiron are almost exactly in the same spot in terms of degrees on that slice, almost exactly, which is eerie and interesting. Your 10th house has to do, excuse me, your 10th house has to do with Leo, with Arya. And that is anything in relation to, so the 10th house is the public sphere, career, your reputation, how you present yourself to the world. When Arya gets involved, it means center stage. I am the star. Pay attention to me. Me, 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 me. But because Chiron is there, it means that there is a deep wound somewhere with you in terms of being in the spotlight. So either you weren't ever given the chance to be in the spotlight, maybe when you were younger, or you were, and you were put under a microscope, under scrutiny all the time. Like it's that sensation. That's what's coming from the 10th house with Arya. So when Chiron presents, it means that your challenge in this reality, in this life, is to figure out, well, I may have had this wound where I didn't feel like I could take center stage and I could speak my mind. But you know what? God damn it, I'm going to do it now. And I'm going to take this and find a way to show other people how to take center stage and show other people how to speak their truth. And it's okay. Yeah. See, there you go. Being firstborn is such a heavy responsibility and it can be really hard. So what you're basically being offered by Hashem is, hey, I know that it sucked for you when you were a kid. I want you to take that and transmute it into power and purpose and find a way to help others to overcome this as well. Does that make sense?
It does, honestly. It really does.
Good. And that can manifest as a career all across the board. Like there are so many careers where you could do that. Whether, you become a rock star or a poet or, a docent at the National Library in Washington, D.C. Like there's so many different ways that you could do that, but it's going to involve the spotlight on you and you learning to love that and do it in such a way where it's collaborative, where even though you're the one with the spotlight on you, you're actually pulling the audience in and they're the ones really getting the benefit, even though you're the one on stage. You know what I mean? All right. So a couple of bits and bobs that I think are very cool to know. Your Kohav is in Tale. Your Mercury is in Aries, which means when you think, when you communicate, when you process, when you dialogue with others, you are doing it fast. You don't want anyone in your way. You're always full of excited energy. You want to start a new conversation, try a new idea. That's just the way that Kohav is. That's the way Mercury is. It's the great communicator. But the issue is that sometimes you can end up being like a Mack truck and like mow people over. Speaking from personal experience. So be mindful. And sometimes if you're too blunt, just be aware that that's the case. I don't see it as a problem. Some people do. I'm also seeing your Ma'adim is also in Tale. and that is your Mars. It's also in Aries. It's action-driven, efficient, potentially impatient in work and service. So Ma'adim is not a patient planet. It is a planet of action and getting things done now. If you wanted to embody it, it would be Ma'adim is the to-do list. And there's no patience there at all. So if you find yourself being impatient, remember that that's how you're built. And it's not a horrible thing, but it means maybe you can daven in that moment, please Rachel Imenu, matriarch Rachel, shower me with water to quell some of this impatience, and like visualize water, pouring down on you and quelling some of that fire intensity so that you can find some patience. Because that's something that can also negatively influence your work environment, your career. You don't necessarily want that to come across with others all the time. Let's see here. We've got Tzedek in Betula. When you grow and expand, your Jupiter is in Virgo, you are coming from a place of humility. I get the sense that you are quite a humble person. You're not interested in getting tons of praise and attention. And when you give and you are quite a generous person, you try to give in a quiet, subtle, humble way, and just doing nice things because you should do nice things, but not because you're trying to get like a gold star for it. And that's great. And it's going to lead into like the desire to create better systems of giving, better ways to give, better modes of operating. Just remember that you also have permission to receive acknowledgement for the good work that you do, meaning take the compliment. Let me see here.
That's hard.
I know, it's super hard. Are you kidding? It's like impossible for me sometimes. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. But the truth of the matter is, like, when someone goes out of their way to thank you and give you a compliment for having served them for something, it's you doing the mitzvah of allowing them to compliment you. Does that make sense? I know it's a stretch.
It's just like, I don't know. I don't seek that kind of praise or validation. I do what I do, with what I got. And
and that's okay. And that's okay. I'm not saying you need to go like seeking praise and fishing for compliments, but if you get one, at least don't detract from it. Just say thank you.
Okay.
Makes sense. But also that's written in your chart, so it's okay if that's who you are. It's okay. Last couple of notes here. We've got Uran and Rahav, both in Keshet. So we've got your Uranus and your Neptune, both in, that is not Keshet, that's in Gdi. And so it's really cool. When you have Rahav and Uran, you've got this rebellious, revolutionary energy of Uranus, Uran, and you've got Rahav, which is this like blissful, spiritual, dreamy energy. And when they sit in Gdi in Capricorn, they're basically saying, you have dreams of creating this revolution of change, and it makes you very unconventional in the way that you think, the way that you approach reality, the way that you tackle things. And Gdi, they are the mountain goat. You don't want to get in their way. So when you finally coalesce that dream that you have of transforming the world somehow and breaking out of the box, no one's going to be able to get in your way when you do it, because that's the energy of Gdi. It's very earthy, very strong, very ambitious. So yeah, good stuff. And then the last is, again, your Sheol, your Pluto is in Akrav. You tend to have really big transformational moments through identity crises. And that's actually really fantastic. It can just be kind of draining in the moment. In terms of moving and relocating, for you, your astrocartography, the line of where all of these planets fell the moment you were born, California is showing up as being a place where you can find clarity of purpose and you can live authentically. Portland and Seattle in particular, that like 200-mile zone is going to be a great spot for you in terms of creativity, inspiration, love, joy, beauty. That's where your Venus, your Noga lives. That's the Venus line. The Midwest, like Kansas to Chicago, is listing here as a place where you could potentially find a community of healers that will benefit you, that you can benefit and work with and build community. But it's going to demand some major vulnerability from you if you want to be a leader in that community, and that's going to be challenging. So just keep that in mind if you decide to settle in the Midwest, or maybe you already have. So just keep that in mind. And with that, that is your chart, and then we can get into the synastry.
I'm ready when you are, babes.
Yep, ready.
All right. So, excuse me. Here we go. Beautiful. All right. So for the three, for the big three, for the Avot, Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, so easy, your sun in Shor, your Shemesh B'Shor, your sun in Taurus, is actually a fixed sign square with Cass's Shemesh B'Dli. So what that means is your Taurus is in opposition in a square shape against her Dli. So that means it creates attraction and also friction at the same time. And it means that both of you, more easy than Cass, but both of you need to leverage the flexibility and willingness to compromise and to try sort of finding a middle, maybe not siding with one person over the other, but finding a middle path when you're having a conversation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Okay. But the good news is she's bringing a lot of air in her Dli to your groundedness, which is good because the earth is a feminine element, air is a masculine element. So we're getting a good masculine feminine balance. And because Easy is the feminine earth shore energy and Cass is the masculine Dli energy, it's actually creating a double feedback loop where you have masculine, feminine rotating. So it creates this really lovely dance where sometimes she's in her masculine and you're in your feminine, or she's in her feminine within her masculine and you're in your masculine within your feminine. And it creates this really interesting dance, which is why it can also lead to friction. So sometimes it can be very helpful, like especially when you're dealing with a disagreement, to pause and to look at each other and say, am I in my masculine? Am I in my feminine? And to find out which element you want to anchor in order to find that middle path. Like as soon as you do, I'm seeing like curtains parting and clarity will come. But it requires that you pause in the moment and go, okay, hold on. I think I'm in my masculine right now. Let me stop for a second and see what emerges. Your moon, Yitzchak energy, holiness, Kedusha, inner wisdom. Easy's moon is in Teomim. Cass's moon is in Shor. So there is a really beautiful, intellectual, and comfortable emotional relationship. I'm not seeing any roadblocks. I'm not seeing any stumbling blocks. I'm not seeing any speed bumps. You two blend really well on an emotional level, on a feelings and emotions level. You found a rhythm that works for you, and that's good. In terms of Mazal Olah, Easy's Mazal Akrav, Scorpio ascendant, and Cass's Betula ascendant. We're talking about I saw like literally like somebody with a clipboard and a pen like ticking boxes in terms of like I want to go to the party, I want to be with friends, I want to go shopping, I want to do these things, and like wanting to do that, and like Cass is going at this speed and Easy's going like 1, 2, 3, 4. Like the speed is just not matching. And that's okay. Like you guys interact and interface with the world in very different ways. I'm gonna guess that Cass, you are much more socially inclined, much more communicative, much more willing to introduce yourself to a stranger, and maybe not so much Easy. But it does lead the both of you to be very protective over each other because you're balancing each other out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, pretty much. When it comes to like social settings, I do become like a social butterfly, and but at home I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna cool off, chill. So.
And he's probably the guy that you're always like holding on to, and he's keeping you steady and not letting you fly away, right?
Oh yeah, I call myself the chaotic orange cat for a reason. So.
That's funny. Okay, so in terms of there's that book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. So in this case, Gvarim Mima'adim, Nashim Minoga. So in terms of Venus and Mars, when we talk about masculine, feminine, Cass, your Noga is in Dagim, your Venus is in Pisces. It trines the Ma'adim Betale for Easy. So basically Mars in Taurus trines the Venus in Pisces. So what that looks like, trine means it looks like a triangle in the chart. So when we lay the charts over each other, that's what it looks like. And basically it means that you guys have a very intense, passionate connection, and it's fairly consistent. The only issue is that the sparks can be so intense sometimes that you can end up mowing over each other's boundaries. And so whether you talk out the boundaries ahead of time, you have safe words, you have conversations in the middle of a situation, those boundaries need to be maintained and nourished. And then the passion will just, does that make sense?
Yeah, pretty much. There are times where we do have disagreements, and I'm just like, whoa, wait, hold on. Then we try to discuss about everything.
Well, and you both value emotional transparency and authenticity, and you don't like beating around the bush. I would say Cass more than Easy. And so because of that, because your Chiron is in the 10th house, the both of you, almost in the exact same spot, you're both trying to address sharing this whole concept of how do I interface with the world in an authentic, self-healing way? And that requires emotional transparency and communication. You can't do it any other way. So that is working for the both of you. It's written in your chart. You do have some soul contract themes that I wanted to touch on because Chiron, like I said, Chiron overlaps on both of your charts in the exact same place. There is a lot of healing that the both of you are going to do by being leaders in your community, in your respective places where you are, whether that's work, whether that's your neighborhood, whether that's your apartment complex, whether that's at church, at shul, whatever. In your community, you're going to be able to heal others by leading the way. Leading the way is exhausting. No one wants to say the quiet part out loud. Being a leader is fucking exhausting. It means you're always on. It means you have to think 3 steps ahead. And both of you have this path already written for you, that you're going to heal and grow and become the best version of yourself if you're healing as a leader, if you're becoming a role model. So maybe that means that Cass can see ways that Easy can lead that he doesn't see in himself. And Easy can see ways that Cass can overcome some sort of situation that she doesn't realize. So that's where the two of you are being in a soul contract to sort of partner together with that. And your souls very likely decided before you got Earthside, this is a wound we want to heal collectively as a unit. And you have some things that can replenish some spots in me, and I have some things that can replenish some spots in you. And that's going to help both of you heal through your Chiron, and it's going to heal others. The other soul contract theme that popped up is that you have nodes in a lunar node. It's hard to explain, but it's an influence on your chart. It's a position of where the moon was when you were born. Both of you have nodes in Keshet and Shor respectively, which means Keshet is Sagittarius, Shor is Taurus, which means you have both deep karmic correlations to like having faith, being spiritual, being people that have emunah and who value wisdom. And so there's something in your lineage, in your ancestry, in a previous incarnation, in a previous Gilgul that is coming through this chart saying, hey, you need to maintain a daily, regular practice of wisdom and faith, whatever that looks like to you, whether that's praying, whether it's lighting a candle to the ancestors, whatever. That is shining through your chart, and it's going to be a source of power for you. So it's not good to ignore it. It's something that's part of you. And maybe it means you just talk to nobody in particular when you're making coffee, and you talk to your ancestors. Whatever it is, having that wisdom and that faith practice on a regular basis is going to help you both feel very grounded. You may even go as far as building an altar to the ancestors. And that can also help, create some open channels and pathways too. The challenges I'm seeing for the two of you are very minimal. I'm seeing very minimal. What is coming up is there might be a little bit too much directness coming from Easy because of that Mercury in Taurus, that Kochav and Tale. There may be a little bit of emotional bypassing from Cass because of her Kochav and Dagim, meaning you guys are communicating in ways that might feel too blunt to Cass and too wishy-washy, non-confrontational to EZ. Be aware of it and try to avoid it. That's all. I am also seeing that okay. So I have to let you know. Okay. So Easy, she loves you. And if you need reaffirmation or confirmation that she loves you, just ask her. You don't have to look for a sign or like proof that she loves you. Just ask, and you can actually communicate that. I'm feeling a little anxious. I'm feeling like, maybe I'm a little like floating off in space. You love me, right? And just ask. It's okay. Cass, you need to be able to ask for space to digest and metabolize your feelings. And he's not psychic. He's not going to know what you want. You need to actually say that out loud. Like, hey, I love you. Leave me alone for 15 minutes. Other than that, I'm not seeing any challenges at all. There are some success tools that I came up with that can be really beautiful and beneficial. You're probably already doing them. The first is going to be weekly rituals that are meaningful to you. It's going to set up some predictability and routine. It's going to make you feel better and calmer. So things like every Thursday we have spaghetti and meatballs, or every Tuesday we go to the movies, whatever. Weekly rituals will be very nourishing to your relationship. I also would advise you to consider journaling together. Even if you're with your journal and she's with her journal, like sitting together and just what's called tandem play, where you're both in the same room doing the same thing, that can be very nourishing to you and balance your air and your water, so that you can think your thoughts and feel your feelings and express it in healthy ways. And turn on some cool, quiet music and do that together. That can be a really great activity to bring you together. And really just finding a space where the both of you might be able to teach together and teach a class together. That could be something really nourishing to the both of you also. Other than that, if you do decide you want to move, I'm going to recommend the Pacific Northwest or Northern California. It's going to be the most easeful, the most creative, pleasant option. The second option I would recommend would be like the UK or Scandinavia, because that's going to be a place where you're going to learn a lot. It's going to feel like you're on a journey and you're learning and growing. And you may not stay there forever, but it could be really good and useful to you. The last place I'd recommend is the Midwest, but I really wouldn't. It's going to require a lot of breakdown in order to build back up, and that's exhausting. If that's really what you're craving, then have fun in the Midwest. I would personally recommend the Pacific Northwest. And that's it. That's your synastry. Now, I'm going to shut up. You guys tell me what you think.
That was a very interesting look and insight to us. What do you think? Nick?
Scary accurate, like you said. I learned a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And, when it comes to our relationship, I definitely see what you're talking about, where it's like, yeah, okay, maybe I do. I know Cass loves me, and maybe hearing it like you say it all the time around us, so. But yeah, just, I guess I can respect hey, easy. It's been a rough few minutes. I'm gonna need some space. Is it cool if I talk to you later? Yeah, I think I can respect that.
And it might even translate better for you if you say I love you all the time. That's wonderful, but also maybe switch it up and say I see you, or you matter to me. And just changing the words, just a couple of words, and that can also land differently.
So I guess my ultimate question: full compatibility, it's in the stars. We're good.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's entirely free will, and you guys are the ones that decide what you're going to do with it. I'm going to tell you there are no red flags. There's not even yellow flags in your synastry at all. I will tell you what was missing. What I didn't see was I didn't see in the synastry or in either of your charts where Cass's chart plays off of your chart, meaning you two have life goals that are going to enmesh and going to uplift one another. And I'm not seeing that in the chart, which is telling me that easy, your path is going to be distinctly separate from Cass's path. And that's fine. It just means it's not where you guys become the power couple. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be tandem side by side rather than completely enmeshed in everything you do.
Gotcha.
So that's what I did see. Any other thoughts, reflections?
Not really easy.
No, just I guess going back to my star sign.
Mm-hmm.
Transformation.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, with Cass's help, I've kind of just started this sort of transformation healing journey very recently.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like like you said, I'm a Taurus. I'm a shore, so like it's hard for me to get out of my shell. So any advice on like how to like walk in a easier, better like okay, any easy ways to like kind of help motivate me to like push past like a barrier.
So the thing that I'm noticing is that yes, you're a shore. That's the core of who you are. Because Akrav is your ascendant, because the Scorpio influences your ascendant, it means that everything you do as a bull is overlaid with this lens, with this veil of intensity and veil of transformative complexity. And so the bull can't just like I'm thinking of like that movie, like Ferdinand the Bull. Like the bull can't just go into the field and smell the flowers. It has to analyze the flowers and understand the soil composition and needs to know if the flowers are going to be friendly, and it's like, that's just a krav. And it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. If anything, I would tell you to leverage it. So if you're finding that you're having difficulty connecting, reaching, expressing, going further outward, leverage what you have as your Akrav ascendant. And so, for example, so it's water. The counteraction to it would be fire. So in those situations, actually, if you're interested, I would recommend a Imaot meditation. So I would actually, because of the way that your chart is laid out, your son, Avraham Avinu, is shore, and the counteraction to Akrav in water, the Scorpio in water, is going to be fire, which is Sarah Imenu, Abraham's wife. So for you to do maybe a walking meditation or laying down to a guided meditation and saying, I call upon my ancestor, Sarah Imenu. You are the trailblazer. You are the fearless one. You are the one who lights the fire and warms the hearth. I ask you to warm my capacity as a bull, as a shore, and to be able to extend myself further without all of this intensity. Can you help me and see if she has wisdom for you? See what she did when she was wandering around Canaan and all over creation, and maybe she had some experiences like that, and she can pour some of that wisdom into you and maybe light that fire to overcome and to be extra courageous. Does that make sense?
It does.
And also, I think there's some really lovely subconscious things that you can do for yourself. For example, it sounds really silly, but you could get yourself a necklace that has the symbol of the bull. And every time you walk by it in the mirror, it'll remind you, I am actually a loving, grounded, caring person. I don't have to be super intense all the time. I can definitely overcome this thing. And that's a tiny little subconscious visual. It starts to hit your reticular activating system in your brain. Your brain will start to pick up on that signal, and then it creates a positive feedback loop, and you'll start to believe it more, and then it'll happen more, and then you'll believe it more, and it'll happen more. So, you can create maybe a mantra to help sort of direct you that way as well. What are some of the things that you're trying to break out of?
My comfort zone, honestly.
In terms of like chicken versus steak, like what kind of comfort zone are we talking about?
Where I am in life versus where I need to be.
Got it. Okay. So breaking out of a comfort zone, that's actually a very Taurus thing. They like their comfort zones. They're very comfortable in their comfort zones. They don't want to get out of them. So having fire is also useful. And being able to light fires in yourself is also going to be useful. So I would definitely say consider some walking meditations or some guided meditations around concepts of fire, light, and reaching out to Sarah Imenu. Because again, if you look at it, I know you've read the Torah. When you read her story, she had to be completely fearless and willing to put her hands entirely into, or her life into Hashem's hands. And she did it without a complaint. She reached out and connected with complete strangers every single day and moved and traveled and sojourned and saw all kinds of different cultures and was literally outside of her comfort zone most of her life. Not because that was her whole dream growing up, but because that's where Hashem put her. And she and Abraham set the stage for who we are now. And so that runs within you. That is in your spiritual DNA. You need to leverage that. You can actually just call out to her and ask her. I would say give tzedakah before you do. Give a little bit of tzedakah, in honor or merit or memory of someone, and then say, I call upon Sarah Imenu. I need your advice. I need your guidance. Show me how to be a trailblazer. Show me how to be brave. Show me how to have a fire. Show me how to be fearless. And see what comes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Any other final questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you so much. Honestly, it was really insightful and enlightening, and
Lovely.
yeah.
I'm so happy. And there are always opportunities moving forward, depending on you and what your needs are and what your plans are. If you ever want to check the transits with me and just run some quick numbers and see what transits are going to happen in the sky before you make a big move, like before you start a new job, before you move to a new place, I'm always available to do that. And we can see if there's going to be any alignments that get in the way or any things that are going to be really auspicious for you. Let me know.
All right.
This
Thank
is
you,
so much fun.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much for letting me work with you. It's been amazing. I really
I-
appreciate it.
I appreciate you, your time, and
Yep.
Of course.